Well, welcome to our Wednesday Bible study. Glad that you have joined us for this study that we've entitled Money Myths. And just so you might get kind of pre-positioned, we're going to be in 1 Timothy chapter 6. Hope you're in a place where you can grab a Bible and be ready with that. So looking forward to this study. I'm going to bring in the rest of our I guess I'm going to say esteemed panel tonight. Hi, esteemed panel.
Hey.
Hello.
Money, money, money.
Money.
I'm not sure, Adam, that's the theme song for tonight, actually. But anyway, glad that we joined us. Lisa, you had a good day?
I have. Thank you. It's been a great day.
You look like you're in the middle of pumpkin patch there. I like the fall background.
Thank you. Had to pull out fall decorations.
There you go. Adam, what's been going on with you?
A lot of conversations today.
Okay.
A lot of conversations. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Been a great day.
Okay.
It's been a beautiful day outside. I mean, you just can't be in a bad mood when you have a beautiful day like we did today.
Yeah, very, very nice. Okay. Well, we're going to jump right in. I think we got an open. By the way, Adam, why don't you tell us about where people can get the study guide, and then lead us through our opening question to get started. Okay. I've got a little couple. I'm going to step out for a second. I've got a couple housekeeping things to do, and I'll be right back.
All right, folks, if you guys are just now joining us, you can actually go to our website, calvarywv.com, click the news. You will see this. You click on session 4. We have a study guide all ready for you, or you can also just go to our Facebook page. I think it was clicked on yesterday. We have a PDF file that you just click on, and you are ready to go. So we are looking forward to interacting with you, whether it's live or, well, I guess it would only be live now, wouldn't it? but we do appreciate it. I've actually gotten some comments and encouragement from people that actually, because they got some things going on right now during this hour and so forth, that they watch this later. So we salute to you all. Just a warning, just if you're driving, please, for the love, do not watch this. You can listen to us, but do not watch.
Good choice.
But rather than that, stay tuned.
That was our public service announcement. Okay.
Exactly. So as we get things started, you guys should be primed and ready to go right now. Our question that we want to open up to you all is, come on now, tell us about what was your first job? What was your first job? I'm not going first.
My first job, I mean, as a kid, I did all the regular jobs. I passed papers and I cut grass. But when I was 15, I broke into the big money as a busboy and a dishwasher. Okay. So that's when I really started making, it was like $3 an hour or something, is crazy amount of money. But I enjoyed it. I really did. And it helped me a lot. It helped me to learn the value of money.
I hear you.
Good. My first job was at Tiny Tykes Daycare down, it was at a Nazarene church down on Park Street, down there, like on the corner of Park. So that was my first job. I did it after school.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Ours is very similar as a first job. I worked at the YMCA, and I was a child care provider in the nursery.
Really?
And in the playroom. But look, man, if I'm going to be transparent, I like the playroom. Parents came in, dropped their kids off. They could run wild. I interact with them. But I also like being like the only male, because if I would go to the nursery, there was I'm a teenager, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing but girls there. So I get to learn to take care of, babies, but also interact with, teenage girls at that point. It's just like, oh, he's so nice.
What a job.
Kids. Yeah.
What
right?
a job.
And that was a great job.
Yay, Adam. I guess my first job was actually, I did like Joe, cutting grass and that sort of thing. But probably a real paying, got really paid, was probably in college. I did work for my dad a little bit between, late high school. He operated a little business, but that wasn't exactly, a paid job you got. But it was in college. We had a crew that we worked on setting up rooms, so moving chairs and that sort of thing. At that time, the school did not have a a chapel or a theater or an auditorium. So they had a big open space that was used for dining and was also used for gathering. So it was chairs up, chairs down, chairs up, chairs down, mop the floor, chairs up, chairs down, mop the floor. And so it was great work. And but I got money for it. It was good because I was starting to date this young lady by the name of Julie, and a few extra bucks in the pocket.
There you go.
Date money. That's what it was. Date money.
That also sounds like a workout as well too.
Yeah, that's why I'm in such great shape today. It's because all that work I was doing.
So
right.
were you a good mopper?
No. Now chairs and tables, I was dead on that. I was just on that. Yeah.
Okay.
We're ready to get to our study tonight, and we're going to be looking at First Timothy. It's been a day. 1 Timothy chapter 6. And we're going to be reading verse 6. I'm going to go ahead and read this passage, make a couple comments, and we want your comments. Okay, so if you're on Facebook, you can share them. If you're on Twitter, you can tweet your comments. We'll see them. We can bring them right on the screen. If you're on Facebook, you can do a comment there. Excuse me, on YouTube, you can do a comment there. So we really want you to just imagine we're all around the same table, and although it doesn't look like we're around the same table because there's different background drops behind us, but nonetheless, we want you to share and participate with us. So here we go. Okay, so 1 Timothy chapter 6, and we're going to begin at verse 6. Now, godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. It sounds almost like this section of this letter sounds almost like Proverbs whenever I read it. It's sort of these short staccato statements, where he begins with, godliness, contentment is great gain. Brought nothing into the world, take nothing out. You have food and clothing, be content. It's sort of this list, and don't desire to be rich. The love of money is the root of all these different sorts of evil. So it's sort of that sort of flavor, but it all has to do with our relationship to money. And our myth tonight, I guess did we mention the myth? Here's the myth we want to talk about. Myth number 4. I can only be happy with more. And of all the myths we've had, this one probably hits most universally. Would you guys agree with that? It kind of sounds like,
absolutely.
We're told that we've all probably believed that at some point or acted that way. If I just had that thing, that stuff, that amount, I will be happy, be content. What more could I want? So that's what we're going to talk our way through these principles. We're going to come back to the scripture. So I hope you have your Bible ready and you can participate with us. Again, we want your comments and we want your interaction. So Adam, take us through our first discussion question. Actually, who's going to do the first discussion question? Do we know?
No.
Hey,
Lisa.
Lisa,
go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. In what ways does the media try to create discontent? Now, I know you guys have no idea how the media could ever want to create, discontent, but take a stab at it.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right. I think one thing they do is they make us feel like if we don't have whatever's advertising, that somehow we're lacking. And kind of the corollary to that is they equate happiness with whatever possession that is. And success also. It's interesting how there's these subtleties that, all these successful people have such and such. And if you don't, well, clearly you're not successful. And you certainly can't be happy without it. So they kind of load us up into this situation where they equate happiness with whatever product it is that they're advertising. And that just bugs me.
And that's so true too. Pastor Jesse was talking about a couple of weeks ago about a Matthew McConaughey commercial. I think was driving the Buick, this nice car. But it got me thinking just now that how many times and often you guys, for me maybe, I don't know, that I always see like more so the luxurious type cars for commercials. I might see like a Hyundai or a Toyota every once in a while. but you never see like a really small compact car. It's just like, hey, we've got Dwayne Rock the Johnson driving like this little car, but like
The Prius. He's in a Prius.
Yeah, like a Prius. Like you don't see anybody driving those. It's just like the bigger the better. And if you can get this car, especially since we have this actor or this sports figure or whatever else, this will truly make you happy if you drive this, buy this, eat this, get this, whatever else. This will truly make you happy.
Yep.
Well, if the media doesn't create discontent, it can't stay on the air, because that's what its whole purpose is. It's got to create, ways to do the commercial ads and make us want something. So if they never, if they're like, you're good, you never need another pair of shoes, that's not gonna work.
Right. Just like double mint gum. Remember they had the twins on the jet skis, and you're not going to be happy with any type of gum unless it's twice the fun. You get some double mint gum. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. And sometimes what is being sold is the opportunity to sell you something. So it's multi-layered. Of course, it's like television, and like if you watch cable news, and I want you all to be informed. I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but they're going to pick stories that are the most dramatic and the biggest whatever to stir you up, because they want you to be watching, because they're selling advertising. And the one that gets me, this happened, of course, this year. I'm not sure if network shows are going to premiere at the same time, but it used to be in September. A show would run. They'd run the first episode of a new show. And the next week, the advertising is, watch CBS for this new hit drama. Well, they've had one show. How do we know if it's a hit? They might cancel that for 6 episodes, but it's a hit. So you got to watch it. You have to watch it. So, and I'm a student of language, and the language you use can be very persuasive, like improved, new, exciting. All these words just are they're buzzwords to pull us in, and we'd probably be shocked at how manipulated we are sometimes, and then the repetition. If you see a commercial that has some humor in it, you might say, "Oh, that was a funny commercial." But about the 10,000th time you've seen the same commercial, it's just like, but that repetition just comes over, because everybody's selling something and everybody's pushing you that way. So that we all should be able to relate to that very easily.
That is very true.
And it's never more true than kids programming.
Oh yeah.
And I know for us it was Saturday morning cartoons. They would advertise the cereal, like say honeycombs. I don't even like honeycombs, but I wanted that mood ring. And
there you go.
They would get me to eat the honeycomb. And I've seen it with things with little, even Lexi, things she's watching, my granddaughter, things she's watching. She's already like, she knows what she wants because the characters she sees has them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the appeal too is that I don't want to be left out appeal. If everybody else has that, you need to have it. I think we got a comment there. So, hi Jim.
Yeah, he's saying that commercials used to say you need this now. They say you deserve this.
And
you deserve a break today, don't you?
Yeah.
And that is so true, because if you've ever noticed, especially like a lot of the infomercials or even products that are not infomercials, it'll say, if you buy this now, and this is an only 1 day only event, we're slashing our prices from $50 to $24.99, but you've got to buy now because you need this. This will improve your life. And you're like, all right, just hold on. And then they got like a timer on the TV. You're like, oh my goodness, I hope the timer doesn't run out.
And not only do you deserve it, but you can have it your way too. So,
see, that was good.
And it's new and improved, and it's a hit. It's a hit.
That is so. Yes.
Okay. Well, I want you to go back to verse 6 for just a moment, because this is important. Because it says, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." So, if our whole world is designed to take us to discontent, this is sort of anti-normal. that we would be content with what you have. What you have is enough. You can find contentment in with it. And if you've ever traveled, I've had a few opportunities, not many, but to travel outside the United States and into countries with a whole different lower scale of economy than what we have here in the United States. But maybe not quite third world, but way below our standard of living. And especially around believers, and sometimes I've had opportunity to minister in those places. But it seems like the less people have, the more content they are. The more joy.
I think that's an important thing. It's a fallacy that this advertising creates. That contentment is based on how many things and how expensive they are. I was talking to a lady today, and she was talking about a discussion that she had with a friend or a relative. She said that the happiest, most content times in her life was when she had the less money. So, and it's counterintuitive, not really, but it's based on this advertising that we can only get there if we have all the other things. That really kind of resonated with me today. That the happiest time she's ever had is when she had the fewer things and the lesser amount of money.
We probably ought to broaden this too. Thank you, Joe. That's so. I think we could. That's just really illustrates the point that contentment is not related to what you have. But at the same time, this is written in the first century. They didn't have television. They didn't have social media. But still, they were fighting those same things. So it's not just the media that drives it. That's where we see it most clearly. But this drive to have, this subtle desire to have. It actually goes back to the Garden of Eden. Eve saw that fruit was good for food. And you deserve this because if you eat this, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. It's that same appeal that if you have this one. And by the way, God held nothing out except one thing. But can you imagine if we had one rule to follow? It sounds so simple. It's just one rule, just one no. Everything else is a yes, and still that holds her in. The rest of the story. But we need to focus on the contentment. Notice it's contentment with godliness, and then I'm reading from a New King James, but it says it is great gain. Really, that means profit. A lot of times we think, well, if I invest in this or have this, it's going to profit me either in how I feel or a return on investment. But if he says, no, you focus on contentment and godly living, that's where you're really going to have a return on your investment. That's where the takes place. Okay, we ready for question 2? Anything else you want to say? I do not want to monopolize.
Well stated.
All right. Joe, we want to bring the question number 2 up, and let's discuss that a little bit. Remember, we're here before we get there. Remember, if you're just now joining us, 1 Timothy chapter 6. Beginning at verse 6 through 10.
Okay. And it's that question that we were going to think about for a minute is, how do you think the desire for wealth could cause someone to fall into temptation as a trap? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, you're willing to do whatever to obtain it. Lines can get blurred, and then, you can fall right off of the track that you were on.
Yeah. I just think the word shortcut fits there.
Yeah.
Take the shortcut. No one's looking. No one will know. Someone gets taken advantage of to get what I want. Stealing, whatever. The shortcut's there.
Not only shortcut, but I also think of where's the stopping point? Meaning okay, especially in the culture that we live in, okay, my desire for wealth is I want the next biggest thing. I want the next gadget, okay? So once you get that gadget for so long, then you're only going to desire for the next. I'm not saying gadgets or big houses or anything. None of these are wrong. But what I'm asking is, what is the stopping point? Because if there's no stopping point, you're constantly going to be chasing the next thing. And you're going to be forgetting about your family, your priorities, your relationship with God, other people, everything, because you're so focused on, I need to get this. And I'm willing to, in essence, maybe take the shortcut at work to get the pay raise because I want to get this next purchase or whatever it is. So I guess part of that is just, where do you stop at? Because there's several people that I can think of right now that it's just constantly going, buying. And it's just like, man, they aren't content. It's just like I'm good or I'm content for so long, for a period of time, until the next thing comes out, and I've got to have this, and it's a continual cycle.
Yeah,
I think a thought that kind of parallels that. One of the problems with shortcuts is you don't gain that sense of satisfaction. You know, when you work hard for something, when you put your time and your effort into that, I mean, there's a sense of satisfaction that you just can't get taking a shortcut. And Adam brings up a good point. People take shortcuts at work as well. You know, they build on other people's credit. You know, they don't credit people for other ideas. They try to take credit for something that they didn't do. There's a whole variety of moral failures that are all associated with that shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Well said. And I love the word that you know. That's a great observation about shortcuts. It may get you there sooner, but it doesn't. You miss the journey.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, Adam, about priorities, because sometimes it's not like I'm stealing to get because I got to have this thing. Maybe it's just I'm working overtime. I'm focusing on it. I'm thinking about it. I'm dreaming about it. And there's my wife, my kids, my friends, my church, my other priorities. I wanted, you talked about where does it stop, and I was just as you were saying that, Adam, I glanced down at verse 7. Verse 7 really is, I mean, there is no stopping point to get more stuff, but there is a stopping point. We brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to the verse we had in session 1 about what's the profit of man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul.
Mm-hmm.
There is a stopping point. And there's an old sort of a joke or a humor statement about there was two people watching a funeral procession go by, and there was all these cars and all these limousines and all this, there's very impressive entourage going by. And one person says to the other, "How much did he leave?" The second person says, "Everything." So there is a stopping point, and God is gracious to remind us of that, and He does that with that, and we all know babies come with no accessories included.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Also, no owner's manual either, by the way.
And you see that philosophy played over and over again. I kind of like the show American Pickers. And it seems like the same theme is throughout so many of these. Well, my mom or my dad, they collected all of this stuff, and now they're gone, and I don't know what to do with it. I just want to get rid of stuff that was, these people sacrificed their time and their lives to amass things that the next generation doesn't care for or care about a bit.
Yeah, it's just junk. Until it passes on to the American Pickers, and they know someone else is going to feed into their obsession. For those 100-year-old Pepsi Cola signs that used to be on a drugstore somewhere. Yes,
Yeah. I was thinking that the desire for wealth only allows us to trust in earthly goodness rather than God's grace.
Oh, read that again.
The desire for wealth can only allow us to trust in earthly goodness rather than God's grace.
Very good. Very good. I think we got a comment there, Lisa. Bring that in. This is really good.
Okay.
Hi, Gail. Good to have you joining us tonight. Appreciate that. A friend told me people spend money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. Oh, so true. So true. I'll give you a counter one. A complimentary one. But it's someone said, we would not be so concerned about what people think about us if we knew how little they really did.
That's true.
Most people are probably not sitting around. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what brand of car that is. Did you see what watch he has on his wrist? Most people aren't paying any attention to that whatsoever. Thanks, Gail. Appreciate that very much. Glad to have you join us here on our live Bible study tonight. Okay. Now we're talking about the fall in a trap, and that's sort of what he's getting to here in verse 9. He says, "And those who desire to be rich," notice the desire is not just to have more, but I want to be, have an abundance of things. And there's nothing wrong with having things, but that's not the priority. That's not the point. Remember the game of life? You remember the game of life? You had a little car, and you have all these things go on. the point of the game was to end with the most money. I mean, like how. Now by the way, that wasn't the original point of the game of life. The original one, you were to gain virtues.
Really?
It was written by a guy, or produced by a guy who really wanted to teach virtues and values to young people. But then somewhere around the 50s, Parker Brothers said, nah, just forget that. Let's just make it all materialism all the time. So, okay. Oh, David shared a verse with us. Good. Great. Ecclesiastes 10:19, and money gives everything. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Thanks, David.
Yes, you could help yourself, but we're really glad you're watching, David. Thanks a lot. I can hear your laugh in my imagination, so thank you. All right. So, but this trap of, it says, now let me go into the verse. Those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare. That's literally a trap. Think of, a trap snapping shut. And into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. I mean, Paul really stacks up the adjectives here and terms to describe how painful this could be. Adam, you look like you were going to say something there.
Well, yeah, where it says drown, just the version I'm reading from says plunge, but the whole aspect of that word is literally a ship that is going under. Like it is drowning, it's collapsing, it's plunging underneath the sea. And that same word is also found, I forget, somewhere in the Gospel of Luke, where they have so much of abundance of fish that is brought into their boat that it's starting to sink. And so that's the picture that Paul was trying to communicate. Like, hey, I just want to let you know, it's not like, oh, hey, you're just gonna fall away, or there's like you're in a ruin that you're about to the verge of death. Like you're going under.
Yeah.
And I wonder if some of this, I mean, Paul was teaching this obviously hundreds of years ago. And some of the false teachers back then had this philosophy, well, if I'm more godly, I'm going to have more, and God's going to bless me with more money. Which is ironic. It's still that prosperity gospel is still around today. People haven't got a whole lot smarter. But that's just a shame, because that's not the situation at all. God never promised that at all.
Very true. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. And these, I hope you figured this out, but the discussion questions are designed to kind of track us through the text as well. But here's one that's sort of a practical application. What steps do you take to maintain a proper attitude toward material things while living amongst our culture, which is so focused on material things, so focused on, the next thing?
I got 3, but I'm gonna go last.
Oh, go first. Go first.
Right.
Yeah, go first.
Okay. First and foremost, what steps? I had to think about this, and there's some self-discipline in this. Number one, and we've talked about this in the previous weeks as well, but constantly asking yourself the difference between what's a want and what's a need. Okay. There's nothing wrong with updating your phone, but do I need the latest and most innovative type of gadget? It depends. Is yours on the verge of breaking down, or can you just get another one, but it doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles? I mean, it just depends on where you're on that scale. So wants and needs. Number 2, what steps to take to maintain a proper attitude? A budget. And then within that budget, for especially my wife and I, a lot of times, every once in a while, we've got to be looking at reevaluating our budget of how much we're giving to the kingdom. How like here's our total income, so to speak, and not just, okay, hey, let's give the tithing of 10% of church, but what can we honestly be giving to just God's kingdom work locally, statewide, nationally, whatever else? Because in all honesty, I really believe this, folks. Even if you're a non-believer watching this, try this. The more that you give, and I don't mean just to give away, but you're giving to an organization or you're helping someone and that money's going towards something, practically speaking, you will feel better about yourself, because it's not, the focus is not on you, it's actually on helping somebody else. And then the other aspect is Proverbs chapter 30, verses 8-9. And verse 8 in the second part says, give me neither poverty nor wealth.
Yeah.
Feed me with the food I need. Otherwise, I might have too much to deny you, saying, "Who is the Lord?" Or I might have nothing and still profaning the name of my God.
Yeah. Very good. Very
Mhm.
good. Okay. I got, we got now remember the question, what steps do you take to maintain a proper attitude toward material possession? So, Joe, I want you to read that one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What am I supposed to be reading, please?
The comment right below you.
The comment right below. Oh, Christy Wittenberg Moore. All you have to do is move. I'll tell you what she means by that. I'm sorry, I didn't see that one right there. So we're in the process of relocating from Chillicothe, Ohio to Charleston, West Virginia, and we're excited about that. One of the things we're doing is we're downsizing. And so we, all these things that we thought we really wanted, now we're in the process of giving them away or selling them at next to no price. It's all part of that living thing. I think one thing too, just to follow up the question a little bit, one thing I have to remind myself of is what's really important here. Matthew chapter 6 and verses 19 through 21, it says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will also be." And I just was reminded to that as I was kind of looking at things today. What we have here matters not at all. I like what Adam said. When we reevaluate our purchases, we have an opportunity to reevaluate what we can contribute to the kingdom. And those are long-term things. Those really do have value, eternal value.
Thank you. I want to interrupt just a moment, and at least I want to give you a shot at this too. But for Joe, right there below me, this stuff for you Mount Calvary folks. Joe is already on board. He's here Monday through Friday, and as soon as they can get moved, anticipate somewhere here mid-October.
Yep.
You'll start seeing them on Sundays. And several people ask, "Well, where are they?" Well, he's working. He's here through the week, but they do have a house to sell, and you might just pray about that the Lord will send the right buyer. That wonderful home in Chillicothe, Ohio, and that'll be the last step to get you here and full time. You're here, but get all that stuff that you haven't given away.
We would really covet your prayers in relation to that, because we really want to be here physically 7 days a week, and we're looking forward to the time that we can do that.
Yeah, and we think maybe just a couple of weeks away we'll get that last leg in there. Gail, right? This is good, Gail. Thank you for watching, Gail. It's all just stuff. Just saying that really gives you some focus, doesn't it? It's not happiness, it's not joy, it's stuff. Lisa, you want to take a shot at the question?
Yeah, I was just going to say it all goes back to your why we're here. What we're working for. I mean, if you're going to work so hard just to keep bringing more stuff in, it reminds me of that Veggie Tale, Madame Blueberry, where she's at.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we should have had that playing in the background or something.
Yeah,
but
the stuff mart.
Yeah, stuff mart. It all goes back to your why. Why are you doing that? I mean, why are you doing it? Is it to have just more pumpkins, or is it to have just more? That's not going to sustain you for very long if that's what you're doing it for.
Why did you pick pumpkins?
Well, because there was a lot behind me. I thought maybe I could go. It was an actual live example.
Well, just talking about steps, a couple is I second everything you guys have said and what you've all said online. But one that's just a simple one that we put this principle in years ago is we never buy something major when we see it. And you know how the pressure is. Well, you know what? This price is going to go up here shortly, or this deal's only good for today. This is the last one. You don't want to let it get away. But we always sleep on. I know we were purchasing a car a few years ago, and of course dealers do not want you to walk out the door. They know a lot of people when they walk out the door, they're not going to walk back in, so they want to get you. And we were really interested in this car. We really thought we wanted to buy it. It fit all the criteria, and it was time to get it, and so forth. And this guy, no. I said, well, we're going to sleep on it and maybe give it a day or two. We'll get back. No, what do we do tonight? And finally, I just said, you know what? Our principle is we don't make a major decision on the spot. we take time, and we also pray about it. And we did come back, saw that salesman. He got the sale. We got the car. It was all good. But, just that taking time to think, pray, discuss it with your spouse, because, the get it now, get it quick is always a prayer. To me, that's just been, it kind of gives you time to get it back in proper perspective. It's not like, wow, look at that shiny new thing, but it just takes time, and especially to pray about it. Well, good discussion. Good discussion. Now, it says here in the verse, which is kind of the key, one of the key verses in this passage. Lisa, if you want to go ahead and bring the passage back up there. Thank you. You're already ahead of me. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. And notice it's not money is the root of evil. It's the love of money. When you love it, I think maybe one way to say it is it's not wrong to have money, but when money has you, you're in trouble. When it becomes the object, the goal, and so forth. But this love of money, and I think that leads right into question number 4 in our discussion guides. And just take a moment to remind you that discussion guides are available online on our page, and we'd encourage you to take advantage of getting that. But it's question number 4. Joe, why don't you read that for us?
Sure. Why do people have a tendency to look to materialism for satisfaction rather than God? And how can someone fight against this tendency?
Well, I think right off it can offer a temporary delight or a temporary fix. You can get immediate satisfaction that you can see, feel, or touch. A trip to the mall can fix things faster than maybe waiting for God to give you your rewards or something. It's almost like comfort food. You go to get comfort food to make yourself feel better if you had a bad day. But now it's not just a bad day. You go for comfort food because you're going to reward yourself. I had a great day. I did good. So I get this. So.
I think there's also something about the fact that it's tangible, that I can hold it, I can touch it. And somehow, even though God's satisfaction is much more important and it's also much more satisfying, we like something that's tangible, even if it's not good for us.
Yeah. I tell you, many of you guys know I like to read, and I found this today, and I thought this was perfect. Materialism is like drinking seawater. Seawater has a high concentration of salt, so the more you drink, the thirstier you get. In fact, drinking seawater will actually cause you to become dehydrated more quickly. If you continue drinking it, you'll eventually go unconscious and die. Money and possessions can have the same effect on us. Some quote things may look desirable, but if we indulge in them in unhealthy ways, they will kill our souls.
That's a good quote. Where
I like
who is that from?
This is by, who is this one by? David Platt, Tony Atkin, and I forget the other guy's last name, Arita.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's very good. One that I thought of was why we have this tendency is we get to make the decision.
Oh.
But if I'm trying to find my satisfaction in God, I surrender my independence. I mean, we are not independent from God, even we think we are, but I think it can become a control thing. I can do what I want. I can determine if I'm going to want that thing, then I will get that thing and whatever it is, or I will get more of those things and stuff them in my closet and my garage and my attic and my basement and my storage locker and my, in the trunk of the car, and just keep getting it, that sort of thing. And one's for how to fight against that tendency. I would just put the word thanksgiving. The more we discipline ourselves to thank God for what He's given us, I think that primes the pump for us to find our satisfaction in Him. It's all coming from Him. It's derived from Him. And there's a connection there.
For me, I was thinking about this today, just trying to think of practical terms, like how could someone help not do this when I had the tendency to go after materialistic things rather than, whatever else. I don't know if any of people have ever heard this, but the envelope system, you put a certain amount of money, but it's actually in an envelope or whatever else, because in all honesty, if you have a certain amount of money in a particular envelope, let's say, quote, quote, your spending fund where you can spend it on whatever you want. When you're done spending that money out of the envelope, there ain't nothing else that you can spend. I mean, unless you pull funds from somewhere else. But typically, once you're done with that envelope, you can't spend anymore. So for me, I looked at that was a practical way of helping someone not go for.
Well said. Okay. Anyone else want to comment on question number 4? Anything you want to add?
On the part about how can someone fight against this tendency, it kind of goes back to another W question, but to what extent am I living for this wealth? I mean, what are you sacrificing to get it? And of course, my mind always goes to like parents working. You are sacrificing a lot of time with your kids because you want the bigger house or you want the nicer car where, and again, I mean, everyone makes choices. So this is not a judgment call. It's just to what extent are you willing to sacrifice to have that, to have what you want?
And honestly, it goes back to verse 6, but godliness with contentment. Like, are you being content? And I'm not, the show that I was watching last night, this individual clocks out exactly at 5 o'clock. He goes home. He's home for dinner. He's home with his wife and his kids and so forth. And a lot of his coworkers were making fun of him because it's just like, what about all these goals? And it's just like, you never really reached your potential. And he did reach some of his goals and so forth. But what was interesting, when the coworkers showed up to his house, and this was kind of like an epiphany that I was telling my wife about last night. He showed him their photo albums. His priority, he was content in doing his job, but his priority was to sacrifice was, I don't want to reach all these things or do all this extra time or extra, whatever else, because I want to be home to be with my family. That's I'm content where I'm at in life because this is the priority. So I don't want to sacrifice anything else to sacrifice my family. So,
and I think some of that perspective comes with age. I know the older I get, the less I care about things, and the more I care about experiences, time with family, time with friends. People say that, well, I can't afford to do that. Well, maybe not and live the same lifestyle that you're accustomed to living right now, but as Lisa was saying, we all make our choices. We all determine our own priorities. People say, I don't have time to do such and such. Well, we all have the same amount of time. How we use it, whether we use it for ourselves or for God, that's a personal choice.
Well stated. Very good. Very good. Great discussion, everybody. Thank you for that. And thank you for those of you that have been watching online. Well, let's see if we can circle the runway one more time, and then we'll come in for a landing here. But we're down to our next step, okay? And here's just a statement. Your money is an indicator of your heart, which reflects your priorities. This week, look back on where your money was spent. Now, let's just think back. Maybe there's been something out of the ordinary. Maybe it's just been all ordinary expenditures. But by the way, looking back, examining where we've been and what we've been thinking is important. So here's just some things that you might want to put into that. When we look back on where your money was spent, think and share of at least 3 examples of gratitude and generosity in your life. Where have you been able to be generous? Where are you thankful and have gratitude for what God's done? And I don't know if we can do that. Maybe we can do that here a little bit, but that's something that we want all of you to kind of just do this. And that's the reason it's there at the end of your discussion guide, part of this Money Myths series that you hopefully have in hand. But anything you want to add? I don't want to move on. If you got something you're ready to go with there on that.
No, the next step that you mentioned, your money is an indicator of your heart, which reflects your priorities. Rather it's this week, I think it's just a good exercise just to reflect maybe back on the month, or matter of fact, reflect back on the year. There's a particular book that I'm reading right now by George Mueller, A Life of Trust. And at the end of pretty much each chapter is talking about looking back on not only the expenditures, but what God has been doing in his life for that whole year. It's actually kind of fascinating to read. It's just like 1837, this is what happened. 1838, this is what happened. It's just like, wow. I mean, and it expresses his heart and joy for the Lord and where the expenses are being put forward to.
Yeah, very good. This next one might be helpful. Limit your budget and grow in contentment in order to free up as much as your resources for the purpose of making disciples. Because remember, we've talked about this in recent days. This was part of the message I shared with the congregation last Sunday. What God's big program today is this: He's building His church. He said He would build His church, and the gates of hell are not going to prevail against it, not going to hold it back. The church is what is on the move. The defenses of Satan are going to be torn down, and the church is going to march on. So the making of disciples, the Great Commission, is not just that soul section of a religious life. This is who we are. If you're a Christ follower, this is what we're all about. How can I invest in that? How can I be part of that? And sometimes that means, we adjust our spending, we adjust our budget. Let's free up some so that we can give more. Any comments on that?
I think that as far as our budget goes, I think we not only have to think in terms of money, but also in terms of time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate when they budget their time so that they have time to help others. There was a lady in my Sunday school class in Chillicothe, and when every month she lays out the plans for her and her husband for the month, and she also blocks out spare time so that they have the opportunity to respond and help others. And I just thought, what a neat opportunity. I also met someone one time who they made a practice of tithing of their vacation. They use that concept, I'm given so many hours a year. I want to be sure that I tithe and use a portion of it specifically to pursue kingdom matters. And that's something I have tried to do. And that is, I'm sure I don't do it as well as I should, but I've done it for a while, and it's incredible paybacks.
Very good. Very good. Thanks, Joe. Any other comments? Well, I'll tell you what, let's just open it up to any final words here. Okay. Our money myth has been, I can only be happy with more. Our passage has been 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 10, where godliness with contentment is great gain. He tells us that we brought nothing into the world, we'll take nothing out. We have food and clothing, the necessities of life, be content. And he also talks about if you have this desire to be rich, you're going to fall into a trap. And the love of money, loving the stuff of the world, is the root of all sorts of evil. And this last phrase, I don't think I read it a little bit ago, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. And I know you can debate about exactly what that means, but I guarantee you it is not pleasant. And certainly it's not where we want to be as believers. And we can, we have these periods where we stray, and the Lord sometimes brings to bear some major chastening to get us back where we need to be. So need to avoid that. Any final words? Thank you, Joe and Lisa and Adam for being here and giving your time here on this Wednesday evening to have our Bible study together. And thank you, those of you that are watching, who join us live, and we appreciate that and being given that time. There's some of you will watch this because it will stay content for the future, and you can watch it anytime. We understand that, but whatever time, whenever you've invested some of your time into kingdom work and spending time in God's Word, we appreciate that very much. So, last word, round the horn. Anything you want to say?
I find it ironic that people spend so much money on things that in the end just provides no deep satisfaction. And not only that, I mean, sometimes you buy a car and you get all the horns and whistles, and it's just more things to repair. It's more things to go wrong. All these things that we thought we wanted turn out to be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I think I would just echo back what Joe said. So many things that we thought we wanted turn out to be nothing later. We enjoy them for that quick little bit, and now they're packed upstairs in the attic that somebody's going to have to carry out later.
Yeah, true. I'll leave you with one little story that I think illustrates it. And obviously God's word is true. This passage here in 1 Timothy 6 is true, but sometimes people get the point. It just confirms it. But this is several years ago, probably back in the 80s, but uh, uh, um, Sports Illustrated did a whole big article on Muhammad Ali. And of course, in the 70s, he was like, at one point he was thought to be the most famous man in the world. Here, this professional boxer, the heavyweight boxing champion. He was a hero all around the world, not just the United States. And they, in this interview, they took him back to this little gym where he started out as a kid, and just sort of run down and go in there and work out and learn how to box, that sort of thing. And the writer reports that, of course, then later I think it was Parkinson's. I think he was struck with. So I mean, he was really handicapped. But they said he looked sort of wistfully around the room and saying that to no one in particular. He said, "I had the whole world, and it wasn't nothing." Now, I just here's a guy who, it's sort of like Solomon. David took us into Ecclesiastes here a little bit ago, but that book is written from a whole different point of perspective. Solomon had it all, and he said, it's vanity, it's nothing, it's emptiness. It vexes me, it torments my soul. And I go back to where we started. Godliness with contentment is great gain, and may God help us to be content ultimately in Him. So thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to getting. Next week is our last week. Do you remember what our myth is for next week, Adam?
No, I do not. Session 5.
Okay. It's session 5, whatever session 5.
Money myth.
It's a money myth.
Yeah.
There you go.
I actually did look at it earlier, and my mind is irretrievably blank at the moment. But we'll be back for one final one next time. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a pleasant evening. And we will look forward to worshiping with you on the Lord's Day. Hopefully that many of us can make it in person. I just want you to, hey, I miss you when I don't get to see you. Now, I know many of you are participating with us online. That's a great thing. And we're glad that we can do that, and we do that. Don't let anything keep you from worship. But when we don't get to see each other, when I don't get to see you personally, you're missed. So hopefully we can all start the process of getting back together for real in the not too distant future. So until then, God bless you. We'll talk to you again real soon.